YouTube, what the crap's going on? HeirofCarthage here, and this is my first match from the Scan Intel Invitational Tournament that was played not too long ago. It can be viewed on Twitch, at least all the matches that were cast, and then I think Zript and others have put up videos of this also. In this match I was playing against Jonasnee, who's using Egypt, and I'm playing as the Arverni, better known as Gaul from Rome 1. My army is very simple and my strategy is very simple. I didn't think that I could win a battle with micromanagement, so I brought a rush army. So what I have is 6 Oathsworn in the middle, which is borderline spammy, 4 Noble Horse, which have been nerfed significantly but are still tough horse. Then I've got 3 Naked Warriors, 2 Spear Warriors, and 1 Levy Freeman. And they're going to support my flanks. My opponent, Jonasnee, is sporting 6 Ptolemaic Cavalry, which are extremely strong cav now. They have better melee attack than my melee cav, but their melee defense is considerably lower, but also they have a massive charge bonus that my cav won't have. So the whole idea behind this was I bring these infantry units to help absorb his charge and defeat his cavalry, which would otherwise reign supreme. All the while I bring enough infantry that I hope to gain an infantry advantage. Egypt has access to Royal Thorax Swordsmen and Galatian Swordsmen, both of which are very good. The Galatian Royal Guard are extremely good. And then of course he's brought 3 Rhodian Slingers as well in order to try and do some skirmishing. Here I accomplish what I want, which is to absorb a charge with my infantry, and then I can push in with the rest of my infantry. This also allows a screening maneuver for my cav, so notice that I just ignore the remaining cav of my opponent for a minute because I want to draw him in. I'm just going to keep pushing towards his infantry force with my cav and my infantry, and as you can see it's drawing him towards my back lines. And this is going to allow his guys to get isolated in such a way that I can try and take advantage of it. So see, like right here, I'm only going to take the engagement whenever I can commit infantry to help, because otherwise I wouldn't stand a chance of winning. Here all I got to do is just click attack orders with my spears, and that'll keep his cav pushed back to where they at least have to maneuver out and around. This allows me to commit my other cavalry to this fight, again singling out my opponent. The infantry fight begins proper. Our units are extremely close to each other because they're pretty much the same units. The only difference is up here against these Royal Thorax Swordsmen, my Oathsworn should be superior, but otherwise, again, very close. Over here, his guys got a better charge, and notice that they start to wrap up my general, which is bad. The Arverni don't necessarily have disciplined units, and when they lose their general, it's not a good thing. So right here, Jonasnee grabs a pretty important victory in that fight, and so I'm going to start reacting. I quit chasing his cav, and I'm going to move my infantry back to hit his backlines, and this will force his cav to come at me. Otherwise, he's going to peel his skirmishers back and hope to maybe kite me and destroy my men with missiles. But I've killed enough of his cavalry that I'm not really too worried about this strategy at the moment. So here my Naked Warriors come in for a rear charge. This Galatian Royal Guard was doing quite well, but as soon as I hit him with that rear charge, that battle's over. And again, this does what I hoped it would. It brings Jonasnee back with his cavalry. And the more of his cavalry I get an opportunity to kill, the better. That unit that he beat my general with, he started to try and wrap up, so I intercepted it with a Noble Horse to keep it busy. And otherwise, along the line, my infantry is doing quite well in this fight. So we've wrapped up another unit here, and I can chase off his cav with my infantry in this vicinity. So you can see that it's going to take Jonas longer to get around to any hammer and anvil blows because I can try and intercept him and run him off with my infantry. So in this case, even though Jonas brought far, far superior cavalry, I was able to use my flanking, or my wings, to delay his cavalry maneuvers, and this allowed my infantry to get in and gain a superiority. At this point, Jonas isn't out of the game, but he's going to have to skirmish me, and with as much infantry as I have left, and with as much cavalry as he's lost, it's going to be very hard for him to pull off a win in this scenario. So basically what I banked on here is these Rhodian Slingers cost about 500 some odd talents each. So you add that up, that's 1,500 talents that my opponent couldn't spend on infantry. So basically I spent that money on infantry, banking on the fact that I really hoped that Jonas wasn't going to bring a rush army. Egyptian rush armies can be insane, and some of you might be wondering, Heir, why did you use the Arverni? An Egyptian rush army would have been better. It's true, and you'll get to see an Egyptian rush army from me later on in the tournament. But right now the Arverni were a pretty good faction at rushing. They had pretty much the units that I want. The only thing that I have to be scared of is shock cav. This unit actually routed in the actual battle. The replays are a little bit corrupted. Otherwise, no, I wouldn't be running away and letting this unit chase me from behind. But again, you can see that I've got his cavalry pinned down with infantry and continuing to deal them damage that isn't otherwise necessary. Here I'm going to come with the surrounding maneuver. So again, making sure that I team up on his Ptolemaic Cav, which is otherwise superior. And you can see Jonas bringing some in for a rear charge here too. This is the type of battle at which Ptolemaic Cav is going to excel. These guys are made for the charge. So we'll watch that charge here. They're very similar probably to Companion Cav, except I think that they have a little bit higher attack stats than Companion Cav. So Ptolemaic Cav, going to be very good on the charge, but with my infantry in there and with my Noble Horse, I'll be able to win the fight. If you look at the stats here, Noble Horse has 61 melee defense. It's huge. And if you look at the melee defense on Ptolemaic Cav, it's only 27. So even though his guys have better attack, my guys have better weapon damage and better melee defense. So when I do get hits, it's going to do more damage. But he's going to win the charge, guaranteed, every time. And you can see that he's activated the Trample ability there, which doubles his unit's charge, basically. It's up to 95. Otherwise, and you can tell that this unit would have routed because Jonas isn't issuing orders to it. And I can promise you that he's a good enough player that if he had a unit that hadn't routed, he would be issuing orders. So that's one good way to tell how a replay is corrupted, is when you have a unit just sitting there with no orders issued. So I win this fight, and I'm going to start pulling those guys back here. And in the meantime, you can see that I'm kind of pushing his men back to the red line and then surrounding them and cutting them off. So his slingers are going to do some damage in this process, but now that I have them cut off, that damage is going to be minimized. Plus I have cavalry free now, but Jonas does still have an entire unit of Ptolemaic Cav, so I'm going to have to be careful of them, though they are exhausted, which should help me a little bit, but no doubt my units are exhausted. Check out these spear warriors here. They actually catch this Rhodian slinger. Light and medium infantry, or this one says heavy spear infantry, so never mind. Some of these infantry are a little bit faster than my super heavy infantry, like my Oathsworn. They're not real fast. Like if you really wanted to be chasing slingers, you'd want to use a unit more like Egyptian infantry, which is it's like medium infantry. Those guys are a lot faster. But again, here I'm going to catch his slingers. My guys are cheering in victory. And then I'm going to catch his Ptolemaic Cav over here. And now his units are going to start to rout because of the loss of numbers for the overall army. So you can see this is his last unit here, and I've got it engaged. It's dying rather quickly. In a prolonged melee, these Ptolemaic Cav, again, they have a better attack stat, but their weapon damage and melee defense betrays them in a prolonged melee engagement. But do not underestimate these guys. If they get a charge on your melee Cav, they will destroy it. There's only a few shot Cav units in the game that are stronger. Alright, let's load up the next replay. So I went, by the way, this is a 16-player tournament, so this was the first round, and it's a best of 3, so I'm 1 up, but Jonas is not out of the game yet, so we have to go pull up my second game with Jonas, which it doesn't actually show me which game it is. So I'll exit out real quick to make sure I pick the right one. So I'll just hit end replay. I've noticed that sometimes the replays give me a, a final result screen, and sometimes they don't. It's kind of weird. Let's see, there's my first game, so it's this one right here. Alright, you can notice that my army is very similar here, except I've changed it slightly. I realized that Jonas might bring elephants, so I brought these 2 Celtic skirmishers because they would help me against elephants. And then I've basically switched my wings. Instead of having spearmen, I just have 2 naked warriors on each wing, 6 Oathsworn again in the center, 4 noble horse making up my cav. And of course my naked warriors are going to be strong enough to support. And then again, the 2 Celtic skirmishers, this was a risk. I hate spending money on this kind of thing, but if he brought elephants, I was going to need something like this to help take them out. So I didn't bring these guys for their skirmishing capability because it's not that good, and they're not that deadly versus, I mean, look, they've only got 8 missile damage. In fact, I don't even know why I brought them to use against elephants. Maybe just the flaming missiles to help chase the elephants off, but their damage is terrible. As you can see, they're very light missile infantry. They're one of the worst peltists in the game, I think. So Jonas again sports 6 Ptolemaic Cav, hoping to gain the Cav advantage, which he does have. And he's brought more Rhodian slingers, so Jonas has doubled down on the bet with these Rhodian slingers, thinking that I rushed him last time. So his strategy this time is I'm going to bring even more skirmish units and skirmish air even more. This is a dangerous situation for me because you look at these Rhodian slingers, they've got 24 missile damage, and let's see, I can't easily mouse over it, but because I can't select enemy units, but they do have some armor piercing value to it as well. So they can hurt my guys pretty badly, and since I'm using a rush army, he's definitely going to get some free shots. The problem is that now he's invested over 2,000 talents on this, and that means that my infantry force is going to be far superior. So Jonas's only chance here is to avoid an engagement and continually kite me, which he very well could do. He's somewhat close to the red line here, which I'm not sure is going to work to his advantage or not. Maybe he's wanting to be somewhat close here so that it makes it harder for me to pull a wide-out flanking maneuver, but it's really going to make it more possible for me to maybe swing this end and keep his skirmishers trapped in a corner, because he is going to have to skirmish. And here you can see him already pulling back his skirmishers. But look, 11 kills on that Oathsworn unit because he was doing some focus fire. 2 kills on that unit. So he can potentially get quite a few kills with his skirmishers. But I'm not going to stop charging. I'm just going to continually run forward and try not to give him many opportunities. However, these skirmishers are fast. They could skirmish back and potentially get more shots before my infantry gets there. But again, I'm a rush army. My only option is to chase. Jonas decides to charge these Celtic skirmishers here, which I was actually really glad he did, because these guys aren't serving any purpose because there's no elephants on the field. So he's going to waste a charge with this Ptolemaic cav here and single these guys out. And look, now I'm going to completely surround him with noble horse. So he's going to trade a Ptolemaic cav for a Celtic skirmisher, which is a completely acceptable trade for me. Yes, it keeps my guys busy, but again, because he can't really outflank me, this red line, it's going to prevent him from sending reinforcements unless he came all the way around, and then it'll be too late. I've caught another one of his Ptolemaic cav here with some noble horse, and I'm now going to surround it with naked warriors to finish it while I pull this noble horse out. He's going to try and bring in another Ptolemaic cav, and I'm going to intercept it. So again, look, singling out this unit. And all the while, I managed to catch his infantry, which is not good. But Jonas, he snuck this unit right through the center here to try and get a quick hammer and anvil, which was effective. It helped start saving this Royal Thorax Swordsman, which would have otherwise been losing. But again, I'm going to hit that Ptolemaic cav with my naked warriors, and they're going to do quite well in that fight. And then look, I'm going to start trying to push a naked warrior around the flank here, and he doesn't want to take them head on with his cav. Even if he does, it's a fight I'm confident that I can win. I should have braced for that charge, though, because I'm going to give him an unnecessary amount of kills to start with. But as you can see, I'm breaking some of his infantry in the infantry fight, and one of my skirmisher units survived. I drove off one of his Ptolemaic cav, and I've got all the rest of his Ptolemaic cav over here pinned down. And then he's committed his Ptolemaic cav here, which means that now his slingers are open for a charge from my noble horse. Now Jonas is going to see this, and he's going to start to pull some Ptolemaic cav back here to stop this. But at this point, I'm definitely going to kill some of his slingers, which are extremely important to him at this moment. So this is not a good thing for Jonas. You can see him targeting my noble horse, doing anything he can to slow down what's about to happen here. But my noble horse are going to kill these slingers very rapidly. Now, Jonas is doing better in the infantry fight up on here. The replay is a little glitched, but it's pretty close. And in the real battle, it was much the same. I kind of won the infantry fight down here. Jonas did better up here where his cav supported. This fight, the only difference that happened in the real replay is that his guys didn't win this fight quite so quick, which means that they were kind of still engaged at the moment. But as you can see, he's not reallocating these troops anywhere else. And again, Jonas is a better player than to just leave units sitting here. So these guys were either still fighting or had routed by this point. And same thing with this unit here. They were either still fighting or had routed. But having started to wrap up this infantry fight, I'm starting to push on his slingers. I've got more naked warriors free here, and my noble horse is still holding out against his Ptolemaic cav. So it looks like I'm going to be able to destroy his Ptolemaic cav there. And I'm in good shape at this point, because I've got 2 noble horse that just got freed up from another fight down there. So his slingers I can get, his infantry I can finish. So everything is going according to plan again in this game. So what was Jonas's army's purpose? Well, I'll let Jonas comment to it in the comments and let him tell you exactly why he chose the army he did. I think I know, and I'll speak to it now, but he can correct me if he thinks I'm wrong. He did have major skirmishing ability here, and he had a relatively strong infantry component, and he had a very strong cavalry component. The problem is that I made it difficult for him to use his cavalry effectively by bringing infantry to support. It's not impossible to counter, and given time, he probably could have adapted to this tactic. But the whole reason I brought the army I did here, number one, I hadn't shown myself playing a whole lot of battles in Rome 2 online, and so and I hadn't shown myself playing as the Arverni very much either. So I chose the Arverni because it would be kind of a surprise, and also because their army kind of suits my purpose here. So this was partly to try and throw my opponent off and to not know what to expect. Now obviously he kind of knows what to expect in the sense that the Arverni are going to need to come Oathsworn heavy to be fairly useful, but they're quite capable fighters in a lot of scenarios. They're not the strongest faction, but they are very powerful. Egypt is definitely a power faction, and they were used to a lot of success in this tournament. So here you can see my guys celebrating, and some of them definitely need to find some clothes. And out here I'm wrapping up the last unit of Rhodian Slingers. With them gone, well, I guess there is one more unit over here. And again, these units had routed in the actual battle, so you're going to actually see the countdown end there before all of his troops last. It says close defeat for me, but it was a victory there, a close victory. Good games to Jonas. Again, the idea here in the tournament for me was I don't think I can win by out-skirmishing or out-microing my opponents, so I bring armies that I feel suit my playstyle, and in this case it was a rush army. Now rush armies are defeatable, but if your opponent doesn't bring the proper counter, they can be tricky to defeat. And so I'm counting on the element of surprise, and I have to stick to my battle plan. So you'll notice that my whole battle plan was to just rush, 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 and I didn't deviate from that. I rushed the whole time. So when you're going to bring one, you just have to realize from the beginning you're committed, and you need to stay committed because it's going to minimize the amount of casualties that you take due to slingers. So don't count on that type of strategy to win every time, but it is a viable strategy for those of you who don't feel like skirmishing is your best strength. Anyway, hope you all enjoyed those. Heir of Carthage, signing off for now.